Well, what I did was I made two of them, and this is my load balance. And I believe this is the one where the listener is listening for. And see, I have a health check, and it's unhealthy for as my EC2, for as in my node group, and I don't know how to resolve this step.
Okay. So why did you make two load balancers?
I made two load balancers because I was trying to figure out, try to, I was trying to uh, see if I was going to get a healthy health check, and I was just going to delete this one, but it didn't pick up the load balancer was what I was running in my application.
Um,
I could delete that load balancer because I tried to put it in there manually and I couldn't.
isn't it for the Kubernetes project? Isn't it your deployment that's creating the load balancer? You are not creating it, right?
Right, right. The deployment is created. It took me to the target.
So which load balancer did your deployment create?
This one right here. This one. It created this one right here. And I didn't add the other listener to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused because um you should have one load balancer that's a network load balancer, and that should be connected to your EKS cluster.
Right, right. Now, when I go into my EKS cluster and I look at my security groups, I had three different security groups. One that I don't know how I didn't even set that on up.
Yeah, that's fine because when you run your deployment, it will create a security group for your cluster. That's fine.
Right, right. Okay. And when I try to add the last couple of steps to this, it couldn't listen for this TCP 80, and it gave me a bad health check.
You have to check the health status there. What is it saying? You drag that line out so you can see what it is saying.
All right. It's
That
saying
says health check
health check
check failed.
failed.
So you have to go in your Kubernetes cluster and see your nodes too and see what's going on there.
All right. And I don't have I supposed to have rent zone down here. I don't have it, and I don't have no events. And I thought me running my deployment file would have made that happen.
Can you scroll up? No, just scroll down a little bit just to the capacity allocation. Scroll down. I'm not sure whether your deployment worked.
Yeah. But isn't there a way that I can SSH into my EC2,
Which EC2?
the EC2 that this cluster makes?
Go and check your EC2 whether there's an EC2 there. So the issue is with your deployment. So there's no way to, when you running your deployment command or somewhere in your configuration, um, there's something may have been misconfigured somewhere. So, and the health check is, um, can you just delete everything? Delete everything. I'll send you a file we can use, because I'm not sure where your deployment went.
Went wrong. Okay. You want me to delete the cluster? Because I can't delete this EC2. It's gonna make another one.
Yeah, delete.
Or the
Don't
note,
worry.
or the
Don't
note.
delete your EKS stuff. Delete your EKS stuff. So go to your EKS. Delete whatever node you created. Um, delete. It's been a while since I worked on it, so I think you just have to delete your cluster, and it should delete everything else for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is the fourth time that I done deleted it and and rebuild it. And the first time I did it. I had the rent zone. I just didn't have any events, but I still had the health check. But I deleted it again because yeah, I deleted it again.
So you have your nodes there. Your node is active. Can you
Okay.
click on that one?
On this note.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Click on node. The nodes tab next to it.
Uh,
The nodes tab.
the notes tab. Okay.
Nodes. Right next to details. No, not that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the EC2 that's running your nodes. Click on that one. Scroll down. That's what I'm saying. Can you scroll up? In this nodes, I don't see the pods running your application in there. So your deployment didn't work. You probably missed something in your deployment. So when you are running the commands, you have to make sure that the command is executing successfully.
All
Like
right.
if you look at the pods that are in your nodes, I don't see it because usually if the pods for your Kubernetes application is in here, you will see it would have
Rent zone.
some type of name. Yeah, it will have the name of the
Right.
application that we put in the deployment script there, and I don't see that
Right.
part in here. So the issue is probably
Ah.
when you were running your deployment command. So you know what? I'm going to delete your cluster and delete your cluster, but I will test something. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for
The rent zone, because I was looking for that too. And when I first did it, I had it. It showed up. But when I didn't get a good health check, I deleted the whole cluster and I started all over again. I ran the deployment and it didn't come up. And I was like, all right, but I still had another bad health check. And then I couldn't even see my image. I say, okay, well, I'm gonna skip that step and I'm just gonna go ahead to the TCP 80 and see if it can reach it, but it didn't. For the load balancer, but it did.
I'm sure when you were running your commands, you're missing something in there.
Right.
Because if it should work. So it's fine. I'm going to um I'm going to test something and we can look at it together. So
Okay.
um just a second. Does anyone else have any question?
I think it's just me and you.
Okay, cool.
Pause.
All right. So let me test something. It's been a while since I worked on this one, but whenever I was working on it, um I created a Terraform code that would pretty much deploy all my infrastructure. Um, then I was going to just run the deployment after that. Let me see if I can remember. Uh,
Even though I have that extra load balancer that I created, you think I should just delete that one so it make it easier to see the
you can't create the
the
load balancer. Your service has to create the load balancer for you.
okay, but I see I it didn't it I ran it again and it didn't create it. So I was creating it
Then
manually.
then something is wrong with the commands you were running or
Okay.
whatever you did to run it, because that is how it is going to, the only way it is
Right.
going to work. You can't manually create it and try to connect it to something yourself.
Okay.
Your service deployment has to create it.
All right, cool. Well, I could delete this one then.
All right. It might take me a while to try to um, so just delete your cluster. And you already have Terraform installed on your screen, right? On your computer, right?
Yeah, me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I do.
If anyone has any question, you can interrupt me. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of this Kubernetes project. It's a project where uh, you pretty much have to get everything right and pay close attention to what your deployment is doing, because if you have any wrong misconfiguration, it's not going to work. So
Right.
um, Someone actually told me that we don't need since we're connecting our application to our DS, that we don't even need to install MySQL on our image. But I'll test that one later. All right. So I just want to, what I'm doing is I'm going to if anyone has any question, you guys can interrupt me. Just trying to. And if I can complete this test now, yeah, Sean, go ahead. If I can complete this test now, I'll just run it. Then the next time we meet, I'll show you how to run it. But I've always said, like, get into the. I know the project works, and there's stuff in it. You just have to, if you follow it the way it works. So I've always said that getting to the bottom of the project, getting to the end where the project is working is not as important as knowing what you are doing while you are working on it. So, but I would run this just to show you that it works, right? Then you still have to the in-between work of just understanding pretty much what's going on at different stage is something you just have to spend time with just to understand. And if you have a specific question about a part of it where we did any type of deployment, then you can ask those questions. Sean, go ahead. I'm not sure if you're talking on mute.
Oh, no. Good morning. So I was wondering, I don't know if you want to do it here or you want to do it like on another session. I was wondering if you could look at my notes on this project that I'm actually building. I'm trying to deploy, I'm using Terraform to deploy the infrastructure, and then I want to use Ansible to do some configurations. And then I guess later as the project evolves, I want to like use Ansible to do more security type stuff. But I want you to look at like, my notes and see if I'm on the right path before I start to kind of trying to deploy it. I could try to deploy it, but I want to just see if you can make maybe some suggestions or things that, you see that may not align to, what we've currently been doing.
Okay. So do you have also you only have notes now, or did you already write your Terraform stuff?
So when you're looking at my notes, I'm using standard notes. So what I will do is I'm writing my notes, but then I'll take code blocks and put them in my notes. So I can kind of just take the notes from the code block and just put it into the VS Code.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, I can take a look at it, but usually when you start running it is really when you know if you run into an error or not. But I can take a look at it. But maybe send it to me so I can review it during the week. Then maybe next week, if we want to look at it, then we can look at it together.
Okay, great. That'd be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
So that way I can look at it first.
Okay, cool.
I have my image here.
Good morning, Mr. Assis.
Oh, good morning. Go ahead. Yeah, you guys can interrupt me. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
figure out something. Okay.
yeah. So, I have a question. So, do we need to start from the scratch? I mean, the models that you have, do we need to start? Because when I looked at like the project for 6 months, you started with hosting the HTML page into AWS. Do we need to start from the scratch, or what would be your advice?
I'll start from scratch in terms of
Like the project you listed, do we need to start from, like, you said from your first lesson that we should start from the module one to get full understanding of how everything works, the whole AWS resources. So I'm asking that, do we need to like start from the first lesson till the last to the Python Lambda project?
Yeah, so you mean if you are starting for the first time?
Yes.
Yes, you should.
Okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't skip any part of it. Yes,
Okay.
because
Okay.
those beginning projects would those helps you build your knowledge on the those smaller projects is
Right.
pretty much meant to teach you something. So as you work on the next project,
Right.
you are adding to it. So you
Okay.
can't really skip any of the lower
Okay.
projects because you're just going to have a hard time understanding
Understand. Okay.
things when you get to the advanced project. So that's how I did it that way. At
Okay.
least when I was learning, that was how I learned it. So
Learning. Okay.
in my opinion, those small projects are even much important than the bigger projects.
Bigger project. Okay.
Because you learn a lot of in those small projects. That's how you learn how to create your VPC. Because
that's true.
If when you get to installing your application, if your VPC is not even right, or you don't understand how to set up your security groups,
right,
you just have issues with that application. But if you don't really know what you are doing, you won't know that the issue is not even in your application deployment. It is in your network where there's a misconfiguration in your VPC. So simple things like understanding how to set up your VPC, your route tables, your subnets, setting up your security groups, understanding how the security groups work. Those little knowledge, configuring your IAM user on your computer to be able to run your CLI command. Those things are very, very important.
Okay.
Before you work on, because really the advanced project are just a combination of all those small tasks. Yeah. Because in those, like for example, let's say in the CI/CD project, we are creating a VPC. We are using Terraform. We have to configure our IAM user to be able to use CLI. So it's literally everything we did in all those little projects that we end up doing in the CI/CD. We just automate everything. So yeah, so the smaller projects are very much, in my opinion, even much important than the bigger projects. Even this, I'll be honest with you guys, this Kubernetes project, I did it. It works. I understand it, but I haven't worked on a Kubernetes project in a while, not even personally or even in my professional career, because we don't use Kubernetes. So I have to go back and look at my notes and see, okay, what I did here and there. But a lot of stuff I understand is all those little small knowledge of things that I understand makes up my entire knowledge as a whole. So working on the little projects are much more important, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so Aziz, just to add to that, I mean, you've already said a lot, and you've already said what I was about to say, that indeed in automation, and we need it for troubleshooting. So, and if we are not able to grasp all those, small, project, it might even tell on us anytime there's a need for us to troubleshoot. So quickly, you said you don't use Kubernetes as far as your role is concerned, and there are some of these things that is being thrown at, someone like me and maybe to others. Oh, learn Kubernetes, you need it, blah, blah, blah. So my question is, if I'm being asked and I'm trying to be smart by dodging it, and during the interview, what else will I tell them if I'm not using Kubernetes? if you don't mind me asking?
So in that, you just have to, for me, what I do is I'm always just very straightforward with them on things I know and things I don't know. So I would tell them that where my knowledge, where my strong point is, where I have the strong skill sets is in this area. Since I enjoy doing Terraform and I understand Terraform very well, I always emphasize on that. I'm very comfortable with Docker, containerization, ECS. I emphasize on that. CloudFormation, I emphasize on that. So I emphasize on a lot of things that I'm very good at. Then
Okay.
I tell them with the Kubernetes, I understand Kubernetes in terms of then you just give them around the frame of what you understand Kubernetes. And if you've done something in Kubernetes before, you will say, I've done this in Kubernetes. And this is the application you want to use, you say, I've worked on this application and this is what I set up in Kubernetes. But that's as far as much as I know now, but I'm enrolled in a course and I continue to keep building my knowledge on Kubernetes because the past project I've worked on, we haven't used Kubernetes, so I've focused on this area. And that's kind of how you navigate that area. If you tell most interviewers, if you tell them where you are with something, they won't ask you a question on it because you've already told them that. So if I tell them I don't know something, or this is where my knowledge is with something, they note it down. So they are not evil people where they just want to make you fail. They would focus more on where your strength is because at the end of the day, they are just trying to figure out whether you are a good match for the role they are trying to fill.
Okay.
So even though you don't know Kubernetes, you might have a lot of skills. And something you guys shouldn't also overlook too is even your personal skills. Because sometimes making it through an interview boils down to whether the interviewer likes you or not. So, so you might even have all the technical skills and they'll still say you are not a good fit personality wise for the role. So, yeah, so sometimes it's good to just be upfront with them too.
Okay,
I highlight the whole because it's not just Kubernetes role they are looking for. They want you to have a whole range of skills. So if you have 80% of the skills and Kubernetes is somewhere where you still have room to improve, they understand that, and I don't think they will disqualify you automatically because of that.
A lot of questions like that have been popping now during the recent back-to-back interviews that I'm having, even though it's not like I really have that, like at the forefront of my resume, but it's okay. I don't want to hold anybody.
So are they asking you specific questions about Kubernetes?
Well,
is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, they're just kind of course, throwing it. I mean, because they know that as a cloud engineer or DevOps engineer. So, of course, like you said, I told them for sure that it's not like I'm naive about it, because I have both, hard copies, I mean, digital textbook and likewise hard copies, so I can easily get my hands on it. And also, I know how it's been worked, but currently this is my level, and they did appreciate it. But of course, I just want to tap from your own knowledge, and of course, you've already said that in most cases, it's just personality to matters. And I try not to fabricate what I cannot defend, because eventually that is not going to take me anywhere, because I always like to put myself at the other side or other hand. Like, if I'm the one asking someone questions, how will I feel? Will I believe that person? So as a result of that, I try to tell them, point blank, this is me, this is what I do, blah, blah. And it has been based on their response, it has been something that they really, really, agreed, and they leave me alone and they appreciated it. So, but I just wanted, since you just mentioned, I said, okay, let me just quickly ask that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome. So you guys don't be also afraid to explain what you know and what you don't know. I mean, if they ask you, sometimes they'll say, where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses? And even during your introductions, you can even throw it in there. You can highlight all the things you know, and you can, but it's just in how you answer the question. Don't just say, oh, I don't know Kubernetes, and or you'll say it along the lines of, is an area that you are currently focusing on, that you are developing your skills in, that you are improving now and you plan to continue improve. That's what they look at. That will impress them more than if you just say, you know what, I don't know it. So even before they ask you during your introduction, you can, when they say, tell me about yourself, talk about, first start with all your strengths. Then at the end, talk about where a project you are currently working on, where you can say, I'm enrolled in a class on Kubernetes. So far, this is what I've learned, and this is the area that I want to improve in. Once they hear that, they're not going to now focus their attention on asking you Kubernetes question. They would focus their attention on the things you've said you've done, because that's where they would focus the conversation on. And they've seen your resume, and if it's a job where it is just Kubernetes they are looking for, then you will know. Then they will tell you, oh, well, with this, I have interviewed with jobs like that, whether they want one requirement or the other that I don't have. And they'll just say, you know what, this having this requirement, whether it is having secret clearance or something, they would let you know this is very important for what we are looking for. And in that case, it's no loss lost. Then you just move on to the next one. But if you tell them that and they still proceed, that's showing you that that's not really the main thing they are looking for. It's just a combination of things. So I like to be upfront too. And I don't go in there trying to impress them on trying to sound as smart as I am. Just the main thing is just be yourself. Highlight your strength. And if there's other things like what I mentioned about the Kubernetes, if you want to talk about that as an area where you are continuing. Even with Kubernetes now, if I go to an interview, I would talk about it as an area that I need to improve on, not an area that I absolutely have skills in. And if I'm applying to jobs, if the main skill they are looking for is Kubernetes, I really don't have applied to those type of jobs because I know I don't have that much strength in Kubernetes at this point. So
me too.
So but there's tons of job. You guys will find a job that definitely match your skill set. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna like ask about that. So when I went to an interview one time before recently, and they asked, so you kind of understand Kubernetes, but what's the benefit of Kubernetes compared to like EKS? And the
Okay.
only thing I could think about was like you're not locked in with Kubernetes, right? You can use it on multiple platforms. But I guess they wanted more. I mean, both of them are orchestrations. So I guess that's these questions that come up about Kubernetes. Like, so why would a company use Kubernetes over blah? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so
So a question like that you should be prepared to be able to answer, because that is kind of like a surface level question. At least they are not asking you deeper technical questions about Kubernetes. This is just, okay, why would you prefer Kubernetes to EKS, right? I mean, so AKS is just a container, right? It's a container service, while Kubernetes is a container orchestration, right? So in AKS, you can have you can have your service, right? Based on how you whatever you set in your configuration, you can have your service and running, which those services are running your tags, right? But with the way I see Kubernetes is just Kubernetes, you can now orchestrate all those containers you have on EKS, you can use Kubernetes to orchestrate them. So let's say if your EKS was running, what if you have like 50 applications? Because we are only working on one applications that we deploy in EKS. It will be a nightmare if, let's say, you have 50 applications that is running 500 containers to manage all those service and tasks in EKS. So that is where Kubernetes come in, because with your Kubernetes deployment file, you can specify how many containers you want in your, how many pods and all those things. And it would, based on what is in your deployment, it will just continue to maintain that. So it's a way of scaling your container up. And I'm not saying it in the best way now, but at the least, stick to Kubernetes is a container orchestration, and EKS is just a container service. It doesn't really have that capacity to orchestrate your containers the way Kubernetes does. So, go ahead.
Can I say something? Just just to talk something, and in addition to what you just said.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Kubernetes is just like open source, whereby, if you have Kubernetes as an AKS in the AWS environment, so, and you want to like integrate with the AKS, like assured, there will be like easy integration or even migration, because Kubernetes is an open source. So you can move your resources from one account or one environment to another environment easily. Why the ECS just like, is like a devote devote resources for AWS, like, actually both resources are like doing same function, but one is like dedicated to AWS, while other one is like open source, like, that's
Yeah.
my yeah.
Yeah, that is true. So you do have Kubernetes in the open source version, and you do have it in AWS, just like how AWS have ECS. The AWS also has EKS too, as well. So, which is their own Kubernetes service. What the reason why I like the AWS one is, when you use the open source, you have to understand how to set up your control plane and your worker nodes and all those things, right? And understand how to just set up everything. But when you use the AWS one, once you create your AWS cluster, AWS will set up your control plane for you. Then through your deployment, you can configure what configuration you want on your nodes and set that up. Then you can now host your pod through the service in your node. So with AWS Kubernetes service, you don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure you have to configure for your Kubernetes. You just focus more on creating your cluster and node and hosting your application in the pods in the node. So AWS does have their own Kubernetes service too. That makes it a little bit easier.
So don't AWS EKS service, doesn't it have the ability to control or orchestrate containers in other platforms like Azure and Google and such? Because that's what I've been reading too. It still has the capabilities to orchestrate them containers as well.
Yeah, I don't know about. I'm sure it should. I mean, with a lot of the cloud providers, there's different like cross-platform configurations you can do. But obviously there's probably like additional things you have to set up, and that I haven't looked at their documentation to see that. But I'm sure if uh, I mean, if you saying specifically just having in EKS, but being able to use EKS to orchestrate your deployment in Azure. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, I've read about it, and basically it's in the documentation too as well, that like you're saying that it has the capability. It just simplifies things, like you said, like they basically do your control plane and you work on your worker plane. And
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does, but I haven't even got that far with Kubernetes yet. I'm sure it does. Okay. Yeah. So, Dylan, so what I'm trying to do is I need to, so I know, and he's here too. Let me see. Polua, did you end up working on your Kubernetes stuff?
Well, you talking to me? Did I
No.
end up working on it?
No, not you.
Me,
Okay.
no, I didn't start. I had to start from the scratch. That's what I was asking earlier on, like, do I need to start from the scratch? So I started my the project from the scratch. Now
Oh, no. So did you just work on the Kubernetes project when before last week when you were asking me about it?
Yes, about I can. So when I set up my EKS, it was saying that I can log in into the cluster. But I had to get permission, something like that. So I
Yeah.
tried it, download, I had trouble for like 2-3 days. I was trying to figure it out. As a matter of fact, I reconfigured
It,
my user and all
it
stuff like that, but I didn't.
yeah, it's your IAM role, bro. It's your IAM role. Because I
So
had that same problem.
so yeah,
Okay.
so is your question, so going back to the question you asked me earlier, are you saying that do you need to start from scratch to work on that Kubernetes project? Or are you saying that initially you didn't work on the lower projects, you just went straight to the
Yeah, I
Kubernetes?
just went straight to that.
Oh,
Yes.
no, don't do that.
Okay.
Because
I can't do that, my guy.
you have you understand
Yes.
a lot about the Kubernetes project. If you do all the little projects, I guarantee you that. And
Okay.
that I can assure you.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so so you can even say with my Kubernetes project, I kind of created in Terraform, although I didn't finish it, but I create
Right.
most of it in Terraform here.
Terraform. Okay.
So I'm just going to, since Dylan is having the issue, what I want to do is I want to run my because with this project, all I have to do is run my Terraform code that creates my cluster, my
Okay.
infrastructure, and everything.
Right.
Then all I have to do is run my deployment and I should be able to access my application. And if I can access my application, everything works. So
Okay.
when you guys are deploying it manually, if you're having any issues, then there's something you are misconfiguring that
Okay.
you just have to pay attention to what I'm doing in the video, at least to start, then you would be
Okay.
able to get to the end. But
Okay.
for you, if you haven't done any of the lower projects, for everyone, I recommend don't skip any of the projects.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Best way, the fastest way to get done faster is to work on those projects and take your time. Because if you skip any of them, it will even take you longer to work on it. Because
Yes.
you work on the advanced project and you get lost. And
Right.
sometimes for some people, it leads to the point where they are just discouraged and they think AWS is so hard that they
It's all right.
can't do it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I recommend like building your knowledge one piece at a time.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Nicholas, go ahead.
It's stuck at the okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, so it's back to this place. This was the very first problem that came back that I noticed before I brought the situation to you. So the glib something 2.27 not found. So I don't know how to
It's
go
not
about
able
solving.
to check out your repository. Can you go to your it's filling on the check out your repository. So can
Okay.
you go to your pipeline file?
Wait. So yeah, it's failing somewhere around here.
And also when you're working on this project, did you copy all the codes and just put it in at once and you just fill in it as you go? Or were you building it on one job at a time?
Come again.
So the codes
Mm-hmm.
for when we were building the job for this CI/CD thing. So
Yeah.
were you building it one job at a time, or did you take the sample code that I provided, paste everything in, then you were filling your value as you go?
No, I was doing it one at a time. I was doing one at a
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, like one video at a time. When you do the first video, then I'll just
Okay.
move step with you.
All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
let's look at that job where I want to see the name of that job, or the job that's failing. Then we can look at the code for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Post checkout repository.
Oh no, so the real fail is at the top. See over there.
Oh, okay. Build and push
It's not
repository.
checking out your repository. Yeah. So build and push Docker image. So go to that job in your file.
Yeah, here.
Okay. All right, so go to build and push Docker image. So that actions checkout, check, because that's the one that is failing. Checkout repository.
Mm-hmm.
So copy that action, or
This one.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and look for it and go to the documentation.
Action checkout v3. Which
Yeah.
documentation? The GitHub documentation on GitHub. This one.
Yeah, you can just copy it in Google. That's a different. This is the documentation for the other actions. So every actions you're using as a documentation, there's a documentation for it. So you can paste that in Google. It'll take you to the documentation. Right. So you can see here, right? This is the checkout actions. And right now they are on version 4.17. So you have to use that. So that's part of the when the majority of the majority of the portion of a cloud engineer's job is always solving problems. That's why I really, when I always tell you guys, I don't want you guys to focus on the step by step. I mean, someone actually, one of my students that did this, my projects and got a job was when I had a meeting with him yesterday. He was even almost telling me that my projects are two step by step. But I was like, to help you guys out, I had made it that way so you guys can see how it works. But with the expectation is that you guys also understand the project from the documentation standpoint. You understand, like, let's say when something goes wrong, you know where you can pinpoint where that issue is. So since this job is the checkout is failing, that is leading me to say that action, the version of that action we are using maybe is outdated already because they are already on version 4.17. So you can use this one and run your job and see what you get. So Dylan, what I'm going to do is you can delete all your infrastructure so you don't have anything running, right? So I'm going to run my Kubernetes project. Then once I run it and I can verify everything, then we can meet. Maybe even if it's next week, that could be the first thing we'll do. Then I'll just give you my Terraform code. You'll run it. That will recreate your infrastructure. Then after that, we'll run the deployment on your computer and see what we get. Because I know it works. Because the reason why I said that is someone just completed it recently, so I know the deployment works and everything works. It's just.
I was thinking, but since I deleted I deleted the cluster, but I didn't run the deployment files, and I was thinking maybe I, I need to build the cluster first, didn't run the deployment file. But since I already had the deployment files, I was running it before I even built the cluster. And maybe
Okay.
I probably done got it backwards from that sense. Before the projects and from the beginning, yeah, you're right. You need to, the other guy, you need to start doing it from the beginning. I did the same exact mistake, man. I went from straight to Terraform, straight to before I even did any other projects. And yeah, you got to do the little ones first. It helps you maneuver around the the the, the console for its AWS and VS Code
Yeah.
or your text editor.
So even in your case, even in your case, I still feel like you still are almost kind of like doing the same thing. In terms of that, and I'm saying this with due respect, like when you are creating your EKS stuff, right? can you go into that job and see what's failing there? So you might have to just run your destroy first before you run your
All right.
because you haven't got to the job where your EC2, your self-hosted runner is. So you have to delete your self-hosted runner, delete the EC2, destroy this, then reapply. Once you get to the job that does all that stuff for you, everything will be fixed. But for now, since you are running into this issue, that's how you have to go by troubleshooting. So make sure you delete your EC2 and you terminate the EC2 for the self-hosted runner.
Okay. And there's something I noticed that the private data subnet keeps on, I don't know, it's like I didn't put any deletion protection, but it's difficult to delete on the job. I don't know why. When I run
your private data subnet.
Yes.
You didn't put any deletion. Is it saying can you go to your?
It refuses to delete. I have to go delete it manually, like every time. Like, let me delete the EC2 and then you see what I mean.
Okay, when you get to that point, let me know. So it might be on your RDS. Maybe there's like something may have changed in Terraform where you need to specify the value. But yeah.
Okay.
So we're dealing what I'm saying is like, so when you said that you ran your deployment file before you created your cluster. So that's also telling me that you have knowledge gap when it comes to just understanding what's going on when it comes to that Kubernetes project. So you're saying that you ran your deployment file before you created your cluster is almost like saying that you try to launch an EC2 instance before you create a VPC. Right. So your deployment,
you're right, but like I said, I already had all these the resources and everything running, but you're 100% right. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so you can create your VPC and all that stuff. You have the resources running like your RDS and all that stuff. Yeah. Those are outside of the Kubernetes, what Kubernetes does. So you need your infrastructure, right? Kubernetes deals with your cluster, your nodes, and your pods, right? So your cluster is where everything starts. In your cluster, that's why I'm saying that even these little things that I'm doing, like I haven't worked on the Kubernetes project in a while, and I don't really remember all the details too. I'll have to go and watch my videos to refresh myself, right? But from what I understand, the starting point is the cluster. In the cluster, you have your control plane, your master, and your worker nodes, right? And that is where everything starts. So without that cluster, you really don't have any Kubernetes, nothing, right? So you need the cluster first, and in the cluster is where you create the node. The node is the EC2 instance, and within that EC2 instance, you can deploy different pods that can host your applications, right? So you definitely need the cluster before you even run any of your deployment.
Right. For best practice, because I know we have Docker files, and do you think I should just go to my Docker files and start all over from there and run those documents?
No, you don't need to run your Docker file, because if you've completed the Docker project and you deploy the Docker project, for you guys, everyone, this is for everyone. If you've completed the Docker project and you have hosted the Docker, you create in the Docker project, you guys build your Docker image, you pushed your image to ECR. Then you use ECS to deploy your Docker image to see your application. If you've completed that project, that is the confirmation that your Docker image works. So in the Kubernetes project, is a continuation from where the Docker project ended. So in the Kubernetes project, you are just telling your Kubernetes cluster, when you are hosting your application in the pod, which Docker image to use. So what I'm saying is like, if you've already built your Docker image and you've used it to host application in ECS, the image already works. You're just telling Kubernetes, use this image, because you are trying to host the same application. So when you guys are working on, for example, for someone that has worked on the Kubernetes, someone that has worked on the Docker project and has completed it, when you work on the Kubernetes project, the only starting point is installing your Kubernetes CLI and all the dependencies you need to install, and creating your Kubernetes cluster and your manifest file and running your deployment. That's all you need to do. So everything else, from installing AWS CLI, installing Docker, you don't need to do all that stuff because those were already done in the previous project, which is why I said you can't skip any of the project, because those projects, they build on top of each other. So,
I had that same problem when I was like, I talked about that last week when I was like when I'm looking at the project and you getting a whole new CLI and all that, I was doing that all over again. I was like, that don't make sense because I already have it. And
yeah, again, yes, exactly. So that's where those are the things I'm looking for from you guys. Understanding where, when you start to understand these things, and you get there, you understand part of what makes me, and this is also what goes on in interview, part of how I know hold on, you shouldn't be deleting any of those stuff manually. Are you speaking? Maybe you're speaking on mute.
Oh, yeah, I was on mute. I deleted the EC2 instance manually. I wanted to try to see if it will have a problem deleting.
That's the only one you should terminate manually, because that's the only one we created outside of Terraform. Anything that was created with Terraform, you should let Terraform remove it, because deleting those things manually will just mess with your state file.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to see, like, I was trying to confirm if there was a way I could just delete it by myself. But it works. It works. After I delete the EC2 instance, everything else works. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If the only time your Terraform won't be able to delete something is if you create another resource in your VPC that Terraform is not managing, which is why we have to delete the EC2, because the EC2 is something we created manually ourselves. Terraform didn't create that.
Oh, because we created manual and then used the AMI. Okay, I understand. I understood.
Yeah, it's the pipeline that is creating that EC2 instance. So Terraform does not know about it. So if Terraform is trying to remove the VPC, it will struggle to remove that subnet, because there is something in the subnet. In AWS, if you have something in your subnet, you won't be able to delete the subnet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So every time, whenever I run the Terraform delete, I should delete the run up first before deleting the run to delete the entire resources, right?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Eventually, when you get down through the project, there is a job there that will remove the runner for you automatically.
Okay.
But we just haven't got there yet.
Okay. Okay. The deletion is done. Let me try rerunning it, see how it goes.
All right. So Dylan, what I'm saying is, like, okay, so, and this goes to where everyone to, part of the things I expect, and when you start to see, honestly, I promise you guys, I don't care that you guys complete the project. I do care in terms of, obviously you should complete the project, because that's the reward at the end, that when you can see the application. But what I care about is that even if you got through 70% of the project and you understand 70% of what you did, that makes me so happy, right? So where you also start to understand your knowledge is understanding. So let's say if I worked in project one, and in project one, I had to run AWS CLI, for example, and I installed AWS CLI on my computer, right? And I set up my credentials to be able to run AWS CLI command from my computer. Then I'm working on project 3. And in that project 3, I also have to use AWS CLI there, right? I expect you guys to understand that. Then that's how I gauge your knowledge, is that you know that, okay, I've already done this when I worked on a previous project. I don't need to do this anymore. This is already done. Like things like if you've already installed Terraform on your computer and you're working on another project in Terraform, you're not going to go and install Terraform again. Those are the little things I care about. You going from project 2 to project 3 and being able to decipher, okay, I'm working on project 3 right now. I've done this in the previous project. I really don't need this. You know what some people do? So I've seen some students where when they work on my project, they will say, Oh, all the stuff we did in project 2 is the same exact thing we're doing in project 3, like building the VPC, for example. So you know what some of them do? From project to project, they don't delete their VPC, but they understand that when they finish the project, they know what they need to go and delete in it so that they can prepare their VPC for the next project they are going to work on. I love when you guys do something like that because that shows me that you know what you are doing. So all that stuff is definitely good. So for me, that's what I'm always looking at. How is your knowledge improving? How are you understanding the things you are doing from project to project? Which is why I said, if you've done something in the previous project, when you work, for example, we configured AWS CLI in the Terraform project. By the time you get to the Docker project, I expect you, my expectation is that you don't ask me about how to configure AWS CLI because it is something we've already done in the previous project that we used extensively, and I expect you to already have mastered it and know it by then, you know. So those are the different things that I'm looking at.
If I have an EC2 running, say if I have like 5 EC2 runners and I have all the configuration going, can I SSH into any one of them, even if they're on Kubernetes? From the back end.
If you have any EC2 running, you can SSH into it, as long as you have
any one of them.
If you have any EC2 that is in your console, you can SSH into it.
So I could have SSH into to my EC2 from that notebook.
And what
if
are
I
you
would have created a PIM file?
And what is that going to do?
I was just going to see if it was going to work or not.
What's going to work?
I was trying to skip a step. If I was going to be able to skip a step, I could see some configurations on it to maybe help me move along. So I got a good health check, making sure the EC2 is working perfect.
And when you SSH into it, what specifically are you going to look for?
They ain't gonna have nothing up in there to look for. They ain't gonna have nothing.
So the EC2.
I was just going to see if
the EC2
I can SSH into it.
The EC2 that AWS creates when you are creating your cluster, when you spin up your nodes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at this level of what we are doing, there isn't any reason why we should SSH into the EC2 instance to do anything. The issue you are having has to do with your infrastructure and your configuration. And when you are running your deployment file, that's where you are running into the issue.
Okay.
So which is why I'm saying that it also goes back to you just have to have a good understanding of what's going on and how Kubernetes is working. That EC2 instance, you can delete the node and recreate the node, and AWS will launch another EC2 instance there. So there isn't any reason, like if there's an issue with your node, is something that AWS is managing, and the node is created by your deployment file. So that's the point of it. They made it so easy that you wrote less than 20 lines of code, and that node, whatever configuration you specify in there, created the node for you. So you don't have there's no concern for what I know is to try to go into the EC2 instance to try to figure out something there. Because if that node that was created don't work, I just check my deployment file, see what maybe I have a misconfiguration of my code there, fix my code, run my deployment file again to create a new node. So that's what I would have done. So I think trying to SSH into the EC2 instance is beyond the scope of what you should be doing.
Gotcha.
I think, yeah.
You're muted, Shamika.
Come on. Okay. This I'm on my laptop today and it's acting stupid. I don't know what it is with this laptop. It just doesn't like Zoom for some reason. But can you hear me now? AZ, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you,
Can
Yes,
Nick.
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. And for some reason, this laptop does not like my Zoom. Does not like Zoom, I mean. But can y'all hear me better now? Because I was on my microphone, so I can hear
Yeah,
you guys better.
yeah, I can hear you.
I think with Dylan, because I was working with him last night on it, I'm thinking that I'm looking at what you was explaining to him. I'm thinking where you are missing is when you have an error and you go and you delete something like right now, if you go and delete your cluster, you have to remember to go back, and if you delete the cluster, you got to go back and follow all the steps after that so that you can properly deploy it. So I wouldn't skip no video. If you go back to where you delete the cluster and you start from the creating the EKS, then you should follow everything after that, because that means you're going to have to redeploy it when you go ahead and you recreate a
Exactly.
EKS. Is that correct, AZ?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, you if
So
you
I think that's
delete
what we're
everything,
going on that.
it's literally 1 to 10 and 10 back to 1. That is really how you should look at it. So whatever steps you follow to create the cluster, you have to redo that step back, then start from that point. So with this Kubernetes project, really when I say start from scratch, I'm just saying start from start from after you've created your VPC. So after your VPC is there, you don't even have to delete your VPC if you know your VPC is properly configured. All you need to do is get back to that VPC point, delete all your cluster, then recreate your cluster, then run your deployment file. It should be.
Because the support, okay, so EKS must use 30, I think it's 30287, something like that. It's something like that. Because when the listener came up and when he reached out to me, it was saying it was unhealthy, right? It didn't like you know how some of our other projects it will tell you, like, because I guess because when we put inside the health check, we put the codes in 200, 300, but because like you said, EKS is creating everything, it just said unhealthy. The check was unhealthy, and it points to that port. So that's the port that is saying that it's having problems with. That's what I did notice yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a step that's missed there. So we just have to, but I want to run my Kubernetes stuff, then we can meet, and all three of us can actually meet and we can look at it together. I can even give you my code. So if you want to run it on your end, so we'll see what's going on. Okay. So
So what happened was it failed again. And for some reason, I think the 4.1.7 doesn't have that same glibc 2.27. So I don't know if I should check if I
no,
should
it
get
should. So in
earlier release.
in this documentation, just scroll down to where they are using it, right? You'll see an example of how they are using it. Usage, under usage. So just use V4. See, the example is up there. So instead of, just use V4. That's what you need to do.
Oh, I think I should have done Terraform destroy first.
No, it's fine. Try rerunning that job, see if it'll work. Or did you push it? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I pushed it.
It will try to do everything over. You should have just well, it's fine. Just cancel this job, cancel this pipeline, and then run your Terraform destroy.
So if I cancel the pipeline, should I run the Terraform destroy on this one?
No, you run it on you push it. you push it from your local to your thing to kick off your pipeline.
Okay, so I have to destroy first, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. If anyone else have any question, you guys can ask.
Mr. Assis, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So my question is, so let's say we get after I've completed this other project and I want to start applying for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
Can I talk about this? Like, how do I talk about this project? Can I say, okay, in my last role, I hosted a dynamic website on AWS, and these are the services I was, or these are the things that I was doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Because I had that, I was kind of contemplating, like, is that the right way to talk about, like, to start with, like, okay, so when I was in this company, I was a cloud engineer, and I was hosting a dynamic website on AWS using all these AWS services, and I list all like VPC, private subnet, NAT gateway, and the likes like that. Is that the right thing to say, or is there a specific way to go about it?
Yes, that's exactly how you should go about it. So I've always recommend when you guys talk about your project, really, I don't talk about it like it's a personal project I worked on. I talk about it as if I did it for someone, even if I did it for myself. So when I got my first job, I actually helped my cousin host his website, and I also had another business that I was doing then that I hosted my own website on AWS using this project. So when you to answer your question, when you talk about it, yes, talk about it as if in your last role. Those are the things you do. So you are not, the main thing is you guys just don't lie about saying you know something that you don't know, because then if they ask you about it, then you can't defend it, then it's just gonna hurt your chance. But if you've done something before you know it, you can talk about it as if you did it for someone else. Instead of you guys saying, I did a personal project here, just say, oh, in my last role, whatever personal project you've worked on, add that personal project as part of the things you did in that role. That's what I always do. So yes, you are right. That's how you should talk about it. Because even at my job, we have times during the week that they've allocated for us to work, to learn new things, right? So they will let us work on personal projects and learn new things. So all that stuff can also be part of your work experience. So when I talk about it, I don't say, oh, I worked on a personal project when I did this. I'll just mean the main AWS stuff like that, like you said, building VPC, public and private subnet, RDS, these things, I add it to my role. But then if they ask me about like Python, I can say, yeah, I worked on a Python project, some personal project on Python, or the Kubernetes stuff, things that I don't really know as well. I say I'm working on a personal project where this is what I'm doing. So, but the core AWS stuff, you should talk about it as it's part of your previous role.
Can we also talk about, like, apart from this my role, I also had a personal project that I was doing just to kind of add up, like, to level up my skill?
Yes, of
Oh,
course.
all right, okay.
Of
Because
course.
I had someone saying that it doesn't sounds good, sounds professional to say, oh, I have worked on a personal project before. That to assume that we don't have so much skills, so much
True.
experience,
True.
and yeah,
So don't say everything is personal project. Like I
okay,
said, you talk about your 90% of what you said is your relating to your previous past experience.
okay,
Then the only 5 to 10% of it is you are also showing them the other side of you, that you are a continuous learner. You don't wait for the job to assign something to you before you learn it. You take proactive steps
okay,
to learn tools that you don't know about, that you are interested in learning
mm,
about. So that part is important. So whoever told you that is right.
okay,
Don't go in and say, oh yeah, I worked on all personal projects here.
okay,
So
all right,
you talk about majority of it,
okay,
95% of it is your past experience, but then you for other 5% is like, I also take proactive step. This is the current project, personal projects that I'm working on to learn Kubernetes or whatever it may be.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. That sounds good. Thank you, sir.
no problem.
Hafiz, I asked you this before, but I want to see if your opinion change. So I'm like starting to learn a little bit more about Jenkins, and want to actually use that in like some of the projects that I'm thinking about deploying. Do you think that I was valuing paying for this class between building the APIs with Python or learning Jenkins? And I selected the Jenkins. Do you think that like if you had to choose, which one you think is a better?
I think you should have choose the building API one.
I figured, okay.
I'm telling you, don't waste your time learning. You can learn Jenkins in like at your own time, at your own pace. But I wouldn't focus too much effort on Jenkins. Not everybody use Jenkins. I'm telling
And a
you.
lot of people is phasing out of Jenkins.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. I'm telling
I
you.
think I would learn API better. Yeah.
API is not even this topic of discussion.
hmm
Because you know how much value you bring to a company if you understand how to build your own API. Because that's a skill you will need, that you'll be using as a DevOps engineer, but definitely not Jenkins. Trust me, a lot of people are not using Jenkins at all. And those that are using it, like Shamika said, are decommissioning it. Trust me.
Okay, so
Yeah, do your research before you spend classes. Do your research, like go on Google and Google it. You know, what's in demand. My other mentor that helps me learn the software engineer side of, like, creating applications. He says the same thing. Look at the demand in the market for certain things before you pay for to learn it, because if you don't, then it's what I'm saying, you spending money, wasting your money on something that's not even in demand. And Jenkins is starting to phase out for that reason. A lot of people is moving over to the stuff where it takes less time for configuration and stuff, because production is very important and they need to be able to get stuff in production. They can't sit in development forever trying to do this, do that, do that. And so Jenkins, maybe it get better, but right now a lot of us, this is what I hear a lot of business people say on that side, that they want to phase into something that's much easier to get into production right away. So they're using more Ansible, Kubernetes, and stuff like that. So
okay.
yeah.
So have y'all seen Fast API out there? Is that something that comes to mind? No, I guess.
No, I don't know much about it. No.
Okay, thanks.
Aziz, instead of Jenkins, is that not why we are using GitHub Actions?
Yeah, that's why we are using GitHub Actions, because it's one of the top 3 modernized CI/CD tools that most companies use.
Yeah,
So
and I also heard
you
that if
see,
someone can master GitHub Actions, then he or she can also, get understanding of Jenkins.
yeah, I mean, concept-wise, CI/CD, the process is the same. It's just you just have to write. If you can understand how to write your syntax for each one, you'll be fine, right? But the thing about Jenkins is you also have to set up your server. You have to launch your EC2 instance, install Jenkins on it, set up the security on it, add the users to it, and do all these other things. Where now we are working with this CI/CD that Nicholas is working on. We don't have to do any of those things. All he has is his configuration file, and we are pretty much straight to our CI/CD process. So
Okay, understand. Thank you.
So anytime there is a need to manage the underlying infrastructure and let like a cloud provider like GitHub or like a cloud service like GitHub or cloud provider like AWS manage the infrastructure for you, it's always best. Most companies will lean towards that than it's too much time just to even try to maintain your own server and or doing all that stuff. And that's just the server alone. You haven't even got to running your CI/CD pipeline, which is the main focus of what you are trying to do. So that's one of the reasons why most people are moving away from tools like GitHub Actions. Tools like Jenkins.
Jenkins, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I would say you guys should learn it, but learn it in your spare time. I'll say just by watching a YouTube video that's doing a project, a quick Jenkins project. Maybe you can do a quick Jenkins project that does one or two things, but I wouldn't spend extensive time learning Jenkins. Either way, you can be learning Azure DevOps, you can be learning GitHub Actions, or you can be learning AWS Code Build.
The reason why I had leaned to it at the time, about a couple of days ago, is because I was watching one of your interviews, and one of the demos that you were doing, you had to set up Jenkins. And so it was like, all right, well, that may come up in the interview, and then it makes sense to kind of, I guess, know about it and learn it. But I'm getting from you that probably shouldn't do it. Okay.
Yeah. So that was just them for that particular project that they using Jenkins. And sometimes I always I've had another interview that I did where they use Jenkins, and I asked them, is there a reason why you guys are using Jenkins when there are other modern CI/CD tools that makes deployment much more efficient? They couldn't answer my question. And they ended up just like, okay, yes, at the end, we understand that, and we would definitely, something we are considering if there is a better way of running our pipelines that we would do. I'm telling you, there's no reason why, unless if there's a specific need for that Jenkins server. In all the projects I've worked on, I haven't seen not one person use Jenkins for their CI/CD too. We have a Jenkins environment at one of my job, but it was really just they've configured certain jobs that we always run all the time. Certain things we do all the time, they've already configured it on Jenkins server. So if we need to do it, we just need to go run it. Like maybe things like terminating an EC2 instance and stuff like that. But for like a multi-level CI/CD that is deploying an application, I've never seen anyone use Jenkins. So I'm not saying there aren't companies out there that are using it, but I'm saying that there are much, much better CI/CD tool that you can learn. The three you guys should focus on is Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, or AWS Code Build. That's it.
Come again on the last one.
AWS Code Build.
Oh, okay.
Code Build in AWS, yeah.
I think it can include GitLab as well.
And GitLab as well. Yeah, so yeah, GitLab.
GitLab, yeah. And I'm just gonna put this in the chat again and in Slack. Since you was talking about paying for classes, you can save a lot of your money if you go to this website. Because you first getting into tech, I noticed that a lot of people that's getting into tech, it's like a kid in a candy store. You want to learn everything, you know what I'm saying? You want to learn everything, and you gonna notice that after being a while, some things it's just not worth you spending extra money on when you can learn it for free, YouTube like that. But this site right here, and I put it in here before, but I'm putting it inside the chat here inside Zoom, and I just put it in Slack. If you go to udemy.com, if you have a library card, a kid's school library card, anything like that, public library, a lot of us you can get public library card from anywhere for free. And if you go to university or you have a child in school, you can use any of these types, put it in, it'll give you the location where your public library is at or where your school is at. Once you do that and you put that information in, you get access automatically to Gale Udemy. And this courses on there. I have dozens of courses that I even was able to pull up government contracting courses on here to learn a little more about government contracting. It's just different courses on there, and Jenkins is on there. And they got all of the same people that we use. Stefan is on there. I'm using his solutions architect. I completed actually the course, but I'm just saying like I want to get that resource for you guys because a lot of us, some of us, like myself, was unemployed. You don't want to be spending money on classes, this, that, and you're not getting nothing out of it. And you're still new, and then and then you get to sometimes you get to try it out. So you might not, because everybody you can't learn from. So with this type of resource, you can go and try out the course. Take a watch a couple of videos and see if you can follow along with the instructor. When you start just spending money on people and their teaching style might not work for your learning style. Now you just wasted your money. So I'm just saying like that's just use that as this resource. I'm telling you also as a first and foremost before you just start to buy other courses and stuff like that on stuff that you really can learn. And especially for Jenkins, because Jenkins is phasing out. But if you want to learn it, of course you want to learn it, and that's not a problem. But I would use sources like this.
Yeah,
to
I
put
agree.
up classes. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you, Shamika.
Yeah, thank you, Shamika.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So is your stuff still failing?
Yes. I found something. Oh, okay. That side wasn't failing. So on check the ECR repository. It was on V3. Should I change this section here?
Okay.
Can you
Yeah.
see?
So that's probably not the reason why your thing is failing. So if you've used the victory in that one and it
Yes.
works, then it
Yeah.
should work in this job. So this one is showing that maybe something else is causing your stuff to fail.
Because I used the V4. I used the V4.
But when you had it on, what was it on before that when it failed? Because it failed before, and I think you had it on
3. It was 3. It was on 3.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe something else is making your job fail. So your self-hosted runner, is it did you use Amazon Linux too?
Yes.
And you installed all the stuff dependencies you were supposed to install on it?
Yes. I confirmed they were installed before I terminated the instance and used the AMI.
Can you use that AMI to launch an EC2 instance, then SSH into the EC2 instance? Just do it from the console, just so I can confirm that it's Linux too. Because it should work. So I'm not sure because it's failing on the checkout. Typically that shouldn't be this.
Let's call it STC2. Should I use the VPC that the GitHub action job created, this rent zone, or should I
just use the default one? We're just going to SSH into it real quick and just to confirm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Default subnets. Okay.
So you can just use the
I mean, it's supposed to show EC2 user here, not root.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Go back to the instance. Maybe it is not. Is it running?
Yeah.
Okay, it's running. So,
but the status is still initializing.
Yeah, that it doesn't. It's not really. That's not gonna cause that issue. So select it. And connect.
Okay, maybe I'll just do using the public IP then. Let's see if it will work. Okay, it works.
Okay. Can you check your if Docker is installed and Git is installed? Okay. Okay, cool. So maybe you have the syntax error somewhere. Let me see. Can you go to your deployment thing, please? Which one is that job that's failing?
Should I go
Building
to
your Docker
deployment?
image.
Hold on. It fails at build and push Docker image.
Okay. Build and push Docker image. I go to your file, your YAML file.
Okay.
Credentials, repository, start runner, initial, self-hosted, steps, and check out. Checkout repository. So you've used the checkout repository before and it works. So, but the only difference is now we are using the checkout repository on the I will go back to the V3 and try it. Because that's the one I have to, and that's the one you have. So the V3 should work.
Should I do anything to this? No.
So those we haven't got to that part. So it didn't fail on that part. So I wouldn't change that part.
Yeah, it fails around this area.
Yeah, it failed on that one, on your checking out your code. So so first destroy everything, right? So change your environment into destroy.
Can we just run it as a failed job? Like, I mean, just save this and then run
that.
Yeah.
But how are you going to get your updated stuff in your, how are you going to update your code?
Ah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
There's no other way. It would have made the job real faster instead of destroying and applying and destroying and applying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So usually so you will have to see this stage as like its testing stage, and like usually when you are deploying something for the first time, testing it, you go through all this back and forth. But once you have all your configuration set where you need it, then obviously we won't need to do all this. The only other way is if you were doing the update in your repo itself, your remote repo.
I don't know why it isn't working. Like, it's like close to the end. It's like I can feel victory, but somehow it just shuts down the process before it gets to the last part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I should delete the instance, right? The GitHub runner instance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Before you run that apply, let's check something. I know one time I was checking, go into your GitHub account.
Okay.
I want to check something.
Okay.
All right. Go into your settings, your pipeline settings. I think I saw it on the previous. Scroll down here. Let me see some. Okay. Go back. Go back one more. Select runners over there. Self-hosted runners. Okay. So you see, these are all the runners which you've been creating. Remove
Yes.
all of this. Remove all of it. Is there a way to remove it? Is it? Can you select them?
I think so.
No, you can't. Right.
No, it's just in copy label.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe they are pretty much.
I have an idea. What if I do this?
Runners. Yeah, maybe that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's the one. So remove them. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So that way they don't just cause. I'm not sure if that's what's causing the issue, but let's just see.
Okay. So now apply, right?
Before you apply, let's start self-hosted runner. Which job is that? Which job is failing again? Not build. We already started the self-hosted runner as the one after it, right?
Yes.
Build and your build and push.
The failing is, hold on, is
your build and push image, right?
yes. Build and push to ECR. That's where it fails.
Let me give you my code.
Okay.
I'll send to you on Slack. Just
Okay.
paste it. You replace yours with it. But if there isn't any error in it, you wouldn't see any error. But I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Should I take mine off?
Oh, don't remove it now. Just leave it there.
Okay.
You'll just paste over it, so it's fine.
All right.
What's your name again on?
I've written you. I sent you a message there. I've sent you a message on Slack. Let me send another message.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Funny enough, I just got it, but then I don't know which one is. I have a couple of Dylan. Then you're not Sunny. You're not Titus. Oh, you're Kenneth, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's actually my name. The email stuff is.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So copy that one and make sure you copy the white space in the beginning too, so that way when you paste it, there's no error. Yeah, there's a white space there. Yeah, copy everything.
Okay. Oh boy, nope.
I know. Slack, that's one of the improvements Slack needs to make. So you see, copy the white space with it too.
Yeah.
So start from the bottom and go all the way to the top corner.
You copy time from the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. Start from there and yeah. There you go. No. Bring it down a little bit. Yeah. There you go. Maybe I have to look at that. Maybe there's a way Slack has done it to be able to copy the code. I'm sure there's a way. I just don't know about it yet. I'll check it. So select yours, everything on yours. So select all the way down from 115 to 215 to so make sure you also select the white lines too, or else it's gonna when you paste it, it will be wrong.
Okay.
So do the same thing. It's always better to go from the bottom up to that corner, so that way you can get the white space too.
Oh boy, hold on.
Or you can just go to the first part. What I always do is go to the first part, click on 215, for example. Then scroll down to the end of your code. Oh, no, click on 215, but use your scroll wheel to scroll down. Don't use don't move the cursor from there, just scroll down to the end.
it wouldn't fit in the screen.
Keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling. Yeah. So now hold the shift key and press 266. So you hold the shift key and press 266. So it will pretty much selected the entire row for you. So that's another way you can do it. So you can select one. You know how you use shift to select multiple things in Windows? Yeah, you can do that here too.
Oh boy, nope. Shift 266.
So no. So leave your cursor there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you go to line, you scroll all the way down to the end of your code. So
Okay.
at the point where you are clicking line 265, you're holding the shift and clicking there at the same time. You get it? So you clicked it before you hold the shift key. So now you can leave it there, go back up there, hold shift and click. So you can do it any side. So hold the shift key and click at the same time. Are you sure you're holding the shift key?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should work. Because I do it all the time. But it's fine. You can just select it however you want to do it. But that's the shortcut to selecting multiple things. So you'll click.
Can't I do Control A?
Control A will select all the files, all the code in your file.
I don't know why it's not working.
Okay, just select it from corner to corner. That's fine.
Okay. And let me put it on Notepad.
You're selecting all your code.
Yeah. I was supposed to select all of them. I mean, plus indentation so that it doesn't make a mistake when I put them back.
You selected all your code though. Scroll up, you'll see.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention. Okay. Oh. Yep. So that's it. So. Okay.
All right, you can save it, save your work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, can you look at your pipeline deployment before you push it? Your commit changes. You click the commit changes right there.
Here?
Under it. And scroll down. Scroll down to where you see the red stuff on the side. To the bottom of your code where the red stuff is showing. It's showing you the date. Okay, it's just a line. All right, okay, scroll down again to the other one. Okay, it's just a line. Good. So the code is the same. Now you can save it and push it. Let's see. Yeah. I'm not sure. Either something is wrong with that. Can you click the drop down on that checkout repository? Click that plus on that run action v3. Is that the number one over there that is there? Can you click not that one, the right under that checkout repository, the one that says run action v3? Is that
This
one?
one?
Yeah, the one, is that one clickable? The plus, the little play button right next to it, click that.
I don't know what's going on.
You need to check out your repository and it's spelling on that.
Yeah.
Check out repository. Okay. I don't think the issue has to do with your code. I think it probably has to do with your configuration, but let me think about it now.
Okay.
So
No problem.
I want to see everywhere where we are. So check out repository. Create easy.
I'll just take a screenshot so that in case I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to run mine on my end and I'll let you know.
Okay.
I
No
think
problem.
it has to do with so it is trying to check out your repository, but then it's failing on that, but it was able to check out. So your self-hosted runner is the one that's obviously that's one of the main reasons. Because we
No.
are running this job on the self-hosted runner, right? So,
Yeah.
but your self-hosted runner is unable to check out your repository. So there has to be a reason why it's doing that. So, but I'll run it on my end and I'll get back to you.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. So I need to run the Kubernetes one and this one. So I'll do those two today and I'll let you know if I run into any issues too.
No problem.
All right. So I do have to go though. So
No problem. No problem. You've tried. Thank you.
Thank you guys. So I'll definitely get back to you and I'll talk to some of you guys during the week and everybody else. Dylan, once I run the Kubernetes one, I'll get back to you too.
That'll work.
All right, cool. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good weekend.
Yes.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.